employees at a Fayetteville Walmart, which is metro to Atlanta, Georgia, shot someone at his job, right? That person ended up losing their life. So we're going to talk about the entire case, how it was reported, and then we're going to talk about the bail hearing and see if they obtained any bail. Is it bail or bond? Let's see. Well, they denied bond. All right. So, nevertheless, let's go ahead and play the video. Let's dive on into it so we can get full understanding.
An employee in Fayetteville is still on the run, accused of shooting two people inside the store, an adult and a 9-year-old girl. The adult did not survive. The girl still in the hospital. Police are on the hunt for the shooter. But tonight, another person is behind bars, arrested in connection with the shooting. Fox 5's Eric Mock is live at that Walmart. Eric, part of the store is still a crime scene.
Absolutely. They've still got one of the entrances here cordoned off. Nobody can go in on this side of the Walmart. The two victims were actually shot just inside those doors in the vestibule. And police say this is still a very active manhunt and investigation. The Walmart on Pavilion Parkway in Fayetteville was bustling Saturday, despite one of its entrances being blocked by yellow tape.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is so sad. Oh my gosh. I really hope she's okay.
Shoppers I spoke to were shocked to hear a 9-year-old girl got caught in the crossfire when Fayetteville police say 19-year-old Walmart employee Adrian Jelks opened fire on 19-year-old Antavius Holton at around 10 p.m. Friday night. The 9-year-old is expected to be okay.
I'm appalled that an innocent child is in a Metro Atlanta area hospital with a gunshot wound.
But Holton succumbed to his injuries at the hospital. His family has set up this GoFundMe page to raise money for his funeral expenses.
So it was a Walmart employee that done it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He's on the run now, yeah.
Wow, and he worked at Walmart?
Mm-hmm.
That's...
Other shoppers were shocked to hear a Walmart employee was armed and could even carry out this shooting. Fayetteville police told us Saturday they're putting all their resources and efforts into capturing Jelks. While Jelks is still on the run, officers did make one arrest. They took 19-year-old Sandra Romero Nunez into custody and plan to charge her with being a party to Jelks' alleged crimes. Investigators have not yet confirmed, though, how exactly she was involved. Still, more shoppers were shocked that something like this could even happen in Fayetteville.
You don't really feel safe anywhere, really. Walmart in Fayetteville, it's crazy.
Now, if you have any information on where Jelks may be, you're asked to call the Fayetteville Police Department to let them know immediately. And Jelks is considered armed, and so they say, if you see him, do not approach him, just call 911. For now, reporting live in Fayetteville, Eric Mock, Fox 5 News.
Okay, so I wanted to play that first before we get into the actual bond hearing itself, because at the end of the day, I want to provide you with full context of the story. All right, so let's go ahead and hit play.
Oh, nice to meet you.
And this is why I want to remain crime free. But if I do a crime, I do not want to do a crime with a lady, because you're not going to the same jail. She going to the female dormitory, you going to the male dormitory. And if you end up doing 20 and 30 years, we may never speak again and never in life. Let's carry on.
It's my understanding we're here today for both preliminary hearings and for statutory bond hearings. I think for our economy's sake, we'll just start with a preliminary hearing, and any issues that are unresolved in that as far as bond goes, we'll address afterwards.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And then call your first witness.
State House Joseph Fritz.
You'll please face me and raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the hearing of this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Go have a seat, and after you're seated, if you would please state your name and occupation.
My name is Joseph Fritz. I'm a detective with the City of Fayetteville.
Did you apply for criminal arrest warrants against Adrian Jelks for the offenses of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault, as well as criminal arrest warrants against Sandra Romero Nunez for 1 count of murder and 1 count of aggravated assault on March 30th, 2024?
Yes, sir.
Please explain to the court what facts caused you to apply for those warrants.
Yes, sir. March 29th, approximately 10 p.m., we got a call the City of Fayetteville did of a shooting that happened at the Walmart located here in the City of Fayetteville. When patrol arrived, they saw a black male laying in the vestibule of the grocery side of the Walmart shopping center. They noticed that he had gunshot wounds to his upper torso. They then called CID. They also noticed there was a 9-year-old female that had a gunshot wound to her face. When I arrived, I worked with loss prevention with video to try to identify who the shooter was. I was working with loss prevention. I ID'd the shooter and the female that was with him. The shooter worked at the Walmart. Mr. Jelks was immediately identified by loss prevention. Ms. Romero was also identified by loss prevention, as she also works there. I watched the video. According to the video, Mr. Jelks is walking around the vestibule. He's got his hand, and he's wearing a blue Walmart smock. He's got his hand in that, his right hand in the blue Walmart smock. Mrs. Romero's at the front, outside, just outside the vestibule. You see the deceased, Mr. Holton, his car pull up. He starts walking towards the vestibule. Mr. Jelks then confronts Mr. Holton. Mr. Jelks then pulls a firearm, and Mr. Holton turns to run, and that's when Mr. Jelks shoots multiple times from his firearm, hitting Mr. Holton multiple times, and then both Mr. Jelks and Mr. Romero take off to Ms. Romero's vehicle, and they flee the scene.
Did they run to that vehicle?
Sir?
Did they run to that vehicle?
Yes.
And they fled the scene?
Correct.
And did Mr. Holton survive his wounds?
No, sir. Mr. Holton is deceased.
Did he die the next day as a result of those gunshot wounds?
He died at the hospital that night.
That night?
Later. So technically, I think it was the next day because it was so late at night.
Okay. And what about the 9-year-old juvenile?
The 9-year-old juvenile suffered a gunshot wound to the face. They weren't able to extract the bullet, so she still has the bullet in her face. She is alive.
Is she still in the hospital, or has she been released?
She is not. She's been released.
Been released?
Yes,
okay. How many well, let me back up. The vestibule is the area between the entrance doors and the second set of entrance doors
yes,
that lead into the store. Is that right?
Sure. Yes, sir. It's the portion of the store where you walk in and you see the carts there. Right. The automatic doors that open. Yes, sir.
Is that the area that Mr. Holton was fleeing into?
Mr. Holton Mr. Jelks was facing into the store. Mr. Holton was walking toward the vestibule into the store. When he turned to flee, he turned to run into the store.
Okay, so the rounds that were fired in the direction of the interior of the store, is that correct?
All of the rounds from my memory were fired into the store.
And how many rounds were fired? Approximately.
17.
And this store is located in Fayette County, Georgia?
Yes, sir. It is.
Were there numerous points of bullet damage inside the store?
Yes, I don't have that exact information. Crime scene's the one that processed that, so I don't have relevant, good information on that, but yes, sir.
I believe you indicated that Adrian Jelks was just inside the grocery entrance doors in the vestibule area after he arrived to the Walmart. Well, let me back up. Did the video indicate how and when the two defendants arrived at the store?
Yes, I don't have the exact time. It was shortly before the shooting that they arrived together in Mr. Romero's vehicle.
And Sandra Romero Nunez waited outside the front entrance, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Jelks went just inside those doors?
Yes, sir.
And as Antavius Holton approached, did Mr. Jelks then step outside those doors?
He initially stepped out to confront Mr. Holton from what the video looks like, and then that's when the firearm was pulled.
Was Mr. Jelks shot in the back?
Was Mr. Jelks
I'm sorry, not Mr. Jelks. Was Mr. Holton shot in the back?
Yes.
Excuse me.
It looks like Mr. Holton was shot in the back.
His wounds were in the back, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all we have this week.
Mr. Harper, any cross?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
I just went, if I could just ask some other questions. I'm sorry. These two defendants were arrested, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And is Adrian Jelks in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
And where's he at?
He's located at the defendant's table with Ms. Johnson.
Okay. And is he a male or female?
Male.
All right. And is Sandra Romero Nunez in the courtroom today?
Yes, she's at the defendant's table with the
Okay. Thank you. That's all we have.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Detective Fritz, good morning. I'm Frank Harper. Good to see you again. I want to walk through pretty much everything that Mr. Sellers has kind of gone through with you to kind of clarify some of this. So, is it true that Mr. Jelks and Ms. Romero Nunez were already at work before this happened? That is true, correct?
They both had their Walmart smocks on. I haven't been able to get that definite information.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So you interviewed Ms. Romero Nunez after this incident occurred, correct?
I did not, no, sir. The city of Fayetteville did, yes, sir.
Okay, and you're familiar with those reports, right?
I have not looked at them yet, no, sir.
So you cannot say that she was there before then?
They arrived at Walmart at the same time.
Do you know whether or not they had clocked in?
I don't know that yet, sir.
Do you want your YouTube video to get discovered by a lot more people? If the answer is yes, then you should definitely try.
Okay. Okay. So they were, so we'll pick it up from what you have watched on the video. So from the video that you watched, both Mr. Jelks and Ms. Romero Nunez were outside the store, correct?
Correct.
And if I understood your testimony correctly, Mr. Jelks walked into the foyer vestibule area. Miss Romero Nunez was outside still.
Correct.
And she was standing next to the trash can, kind of to the left of the doors. Is that correct?
That's probably accurate.
Now, in the video that you watched, she is talking to someone. Is that correct?
There is a male there, yes.
Okay. And so, isn't it a fact that her back is kind of toward the door and away from Mr. Jelks?
I don't recall. She approaches the male and talks with him briefly, so for a brief minute, I'm sure her back is toward away from Jelks. Yes.
And so the foyer doors, the doors to the Walmart, if you're looking like this, okay, so there's a set of doors to the left and there's a set of doors to the right, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she's over here to the left, correct?
I think she was like right in the middle of both of them.
So the trash can is over on the left. Trash can's not in the middle of the doors. The trash can's over on the left.
Okay. Well, I can't say yes or no. I don't.
Well, it's kind of an important detail here. So I'm going to ask you to really kind of bear down and think about this.
I mean, I can't say yes or no. It's something I don't remember.
Sustain.
So what you will testify to is that Miss Romero Nunez was outside the Walmart.
Yes.
And Mr. Jelks walked into the vestibule foyer area, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then it was your testimony that Mr. Holton, was he driving or was he riding in a car?
I don't know. You can't see it from the video.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So, but at some point he is walking toward the Walmart.
Correct.
Okay, and he is walking toward the Walmart, and then your testimony is that Mr. Jelks exits the vestibule and comes outside the Walmart. Is that correct?
Yes, he steps just outside.
He steps just outside the double doors.
Yes.
Okay? Now, Miss Romero Nunez, she's still over here talking to this guy next to the trash can. Isn't that correct, as this is happening?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So, at that point, your testimony is that there's a confrontation between Jelks and Mr. Holton, correct?
Yes, sir.
And how close are they standing next to each other at this point?
They're pretty close.
Okay. So, a foot or two away from each other? I mean, they're pretty close?
Even closer.
Even closer?
Yeah.
Okay. Then your testimony is that Jelks, he's got his hand, you mentioned that his hand was in his smock, right?
Yes.
Okay. And he pulls out the gun,
Yes, sir.
and then your testimony is that Holton runs into the foyer, the vestibule,
Yes, sir.
and that's when Jelks shoots Holton.
Correct.
And is Jelks inside the Walmart at this point? Does he follow him in?
So no.
Or is Jelks still standing outside?
So he's just inside the vestibule.
So he does actually move, Jelks actually does move inside the vestibule.
Yeah, they're right.
They're right there, and then they move right inside. Now, this whole time, Miss Romero Nunez is still outside the Walmart talking to this guy next to the trash can in the video.
I don't believe the conversation was that long. They interact. I've not been able to go point by point and say, yeah, that's when he leaves. But that could be true, yes.
So in the video, isn't it true that from your observation of the video that when the gunfire begins, Miss Romero Nunez, she takes off immediately?
I mean, the gun appears to be altered, so the gunfire was very brief.
So it's been modified to be an automatic.
I can't attest to that, but that's what it looks like, yes, sir. So everybody took off and ran when that
Everybody took off and ran. So who are the other folks that you were able to see in the videos that you watched with loss prevention?
Mr. Jelks, Mr. Romero, and they were, I mean, everybody that was at.
You watched the video, I guess, from inside the store?
Yes.
And so there were people that were running?
Yes.
Outside the store, besides Miss Romero Nunez, who else was outside the store? Were there other customers that were in that area?
Yes.
And they ran?
Yes.
Okay. You did not interview Miss Romero Nunez?
I did not.
So, Mr. Romero Nunez ran, and where did she run to?
She ran to her vehicle.
Okay, and so Mr. Jelks ran after her, correct?
They were almost together.
Well, how were they almost together? Because she was outside the store and he was inside the vestibule shooting. So, how did they get? Did he run and catch up to her? Was he a faster runner?
I mean, that could be, but they were together.
They arrived at the car pretty much together. Okay, is that on video?
Yes.
And what did you see in the video when they got to the car?
There's a brief interaction between, right in front of the car, between Ms. Romero and Mr. Jelks.
When you say brief, I hate to interrupt, but when you say brief, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds? Okay, less than 15 seconds.
Yeah, I'd say less than 10.
Less than 10 seconds, okay. But there's a stop where there's an interaction.
Correct.
Now, there's no sound with the video, obviously, but there's a stop. Where are they standing? Are they standing behind the car, to the passenger side of the car, to the driver's side of the car? Where are they standing?
They're standing in the front of the vehicle. I can't remember how the car pulled in. I believe it backed in, so the car to the front of the car. They're right in the middle of the parking lot, so
Right.
not in the parking stall, right in front of the vehicle.
Okay, so like in the
Out part.
okay, so but they're standing the best that you can remember, kind of in front of the car,
Correct.
and there's a brief interaction,
Yeah.
and then who gets into the driver's seat?
Mr. Romero.
And Mr. Jelks gets into the passenger seat.
Correct.
Okay, and what time was that?
I don't.
There was a time stamp on the video, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but you don't recall what that time was.
Correct.
So they get into the car and they leave.
Yes.
Okay, and from what your testimony was, they received you received a 911 call at 10 a.m. 10 p.m. Correct?
Approximately, yes.
And the sequence of events after that regarding Miss Romero Nunez, what happened next after they left?
So I went back to the office to initially start the warrant process for Mr. Jelks, because we had ID'd him, and then the on-scene detective Corporal Bell stated that Mr. Romero returned to the scene.
And approximately what time did she return to the scene?
I don't recall.
Okay. Would you dispute it if I ask you? And
Objection calls for speculation.
Rephrase, please.
I'll rephrase the question. Isn't it correct that Ms. Romero Nunez returned to the scene less than an hour after she departed?
That's probably correct.
Okay. And when she returned to the scene, help me out. You just stated his name, and I just lost it.
Mr. Holton. Bell, I'm sorry.
Bell.
Corporal Bell.
Corporal Bell.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that Ms. Romero Nunez approached Corporal Bell
I
when
don't
she
know how
arrived?
the exact interaction went. I don't know if she approached him or he knew of her because of the description that I gave out.
But she returned to the scene, correct?
Correct.
And she approached law enforcement, or maybe they approached her, but she gave a statement.
Yes.
And what's the gist of the statement that she gave to law enforcement?
I don't have that information. I was not there.
Isn't it true that Ms. Romero Nunez was cooperative when she returned?
Yes.
And isn't it true that she told law enforcement that Jelks had been the shooter?
Yes.
And isn't it true that she told law enforcement that Jelks told her that if she didn't get him out of there, that she was next?
That's what she told law enforcement.
At what time did y'all take Miss Romero Nunez? What time did y'all detain her?
I don't have that information.
But y'all did detain her shortly after she arrived.
Yes.
And at some point, y'all took her to the Fayette County, or to the City of Fayetteville Police Department.
Correct.
Where she was questioned at that time.
Yes.
And did her version of the events ever change?
I don't believe so. Again, I was the one that interviewed her, so I can't answer that question.
But what she told law enforcement was that Jelks told her, if you don't, something to the effect that if you don't get me out of here, you're next.
That's asked and answered. That's asked and answered. Next question.
Okay. How long did the questioning last at the City of Fayetteville Police Department?
I don't have the exact time.
Objection is to relevance.
That's just relevant to probable cause.
Okay. When she returned to the scene, isn't it true that she surrendered the keys to the vehicle that she had been driving?
I don't know how that interaction went. I was not there at the scene, but we did take possession of the vehicle.
You wouldn't dispute the fact that she told law enforcement, there's the car that I was driving.
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained. Plus self-serving. Go ahead.
But you did recover the vehicle.
Yes.
And she did give you those keys.
Yes, we ended up with the keys.
Okay. Nothing further.
Mr. Journal, do you have any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, good morning, Officer Fritz. Is it Detective Fritz?
It's Detective Fritz.
I apologize, Detective Fritz. All right, so I want to kind of go back to the beginning here. So
Sure.
you arrived on scene about what time?
It was about, I was actually working at part-time, so I responded pretty quickly. I was probably there 10 minutes after the initial call.
So about 10:10. You said the initial call came about 10 p.m.?
Correct.
All right. And by the time that you arrived on scene, Miss Ramiro Nunez hadn't returned to the scene yet.
Correct.
All right. And you contacted loss prevention. You guys viewed the video together.
Correct.
All right. Was there anybody else in the room that was viewing the video with you?
It was me, loss prevention, and maybe one other officer. I don't recall.
And was that the other officer, Corporal Bell, that you were just referring to?
No, he arrived. I actually didn't see him at the scene. I left before he.
Okay. Do you know if anybody else viewed the video besides you, the officer, and loss prevention?
I'm sure most. Yeah, Corporal Bell. I'm sure.
Everybody? All right.
Yeah, I'm sure most of CID has seen the video by now.
And do you wear body cam?
I do not know.
All right. Do any of the CID officers wear body cam?
Objection as to relevance.
How's this relevant to probable cause?
I withdraw, Your Honor. You said that once Jelks and Ramiro Nunez arrived on scene, that Jelks went into Walmart?
Yes, he was in the vestibule, the breezeway, the previous cars.
All right. And so I just kind of want to be clear, because at one point you said that he stepped outside. Did he ever actually go into Walmart, going through the double doors?
I did not see him going to Walmart proper. No, sir.
All right. So he's in this vestibule, which is essentially this covered area where they have the carts and everything else, right?
Correct.
All right. And then at a later time, that's when you see Jelks arrive on scene. I'm sorry, you see Holton arrive on scene.
Correct.
All right. And then Holton approaches Jelks at that point?
They kind of meet each other. They walk towards each other.
All right. And was loss prevention familiar with Holton? Let's put it like that.
I don't believe so, no, sir.
All right. Did you ask loss prevention if they were familiar with Holton?
I have not asked that question yet, no, sir.
All right. However, loss prevention was able to identify Jelks.
Correct.
And they were able to identify Ramiro Nunez.
Correct.
All right. Then you say, essentially, you can see Holton and Jelks have some type of discussion.
That's all asked and answered.
All right. Was there any physicality between them?
Can you?
Did they physically interact in any way? Did they touch each other at all?
No touching, no.
All right. Did you recover any weapons in this case?
No, sir.
All right. And you said that essentially these gunshots were very short. My only question here is, between the time that Holton and Jelks confront each other and the time that the gunshots go off, was that less than, let's say, 3 seconds?
Possibly. Less than 10 seconds.
Less than 10 seconds for sure.
Correct.
All right. How were you able to identify Holton?
Through EMS.
All right.
And I'm sorry, the initial first responder, there was an ID in his wallet. That's how I was able to identify him.
Did you speak to anybody at Walmart that was familiar with him at all? With Holton?
No, sir.
All right. Did you speak to anybody else at Walmart besides the loss prevention?
I have not, no, sir.
All right. And how far, where exactly is the camera position that you were viewing? Where was that camera positioned at?
Well, first, for which part? Were there different cameras?
There's multiple camera angles. I mean, there's some coming out of the store, there's some pointing towards inside the store. I mean, they're situated on the doors. And there's one just above the loss prevention office, which is actually situated in that vestibule.
And about how far away were the cameras from the actual place where Jelks was standing?
I don't know, 10, 15 feet.
And was there any zoom or anything needed to focus on him in order for loss prevention to identify him?
No.
Or were they just able to identify him
They're able to identify him.
just from that distance?
Yes.
All right. And was there anybody else with Holton?
He walked up to the store alone.
He walked up to the store alone?
Correct.
Was he did you see him drive into?
I don't know whether he was driving. I saw him get out of the vehicle.
Okay. And you couldn't tell if he was on the left, he was on the driver's side or the passenger side?
I could not tell.
All right. But there is footage of him getting out of the vehicle?
Yes.
All right. You just don't remember which side of the vehicle he got out of?
I cannot see the video is not good enough for me to see that.
Okay. I know that sometimes Walmart has those security cameras in the parking lot. Did one of those cameras catch him coming out of the vehicle?
I do not have that video.
All
If
right.
there is video. I've gotten all video. I don't have that video, so I don't believe there is video of that.
Okay. So it's entirely possible he was with somebody. We just don't know.
Possible.
All right. All right. No other questions.
Detective, was there a video of Ms. Romero's car arriving at the scene?
Yes, Judge.
And did it show who got out of that car?
It was Mr. Jelks and Ms. Romero, and that was it.
Okay, thank you. You may come back.
Thank you, Judge.
Anything else by the state?
No other witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay. Any witnesses on behalf of the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I find there's probable cause to hold both defendants on the offense of murder and aggravated assault. Anything you wish to say on bond conditions or right to bond?
May it please the court, Ms. Romero Nunez is a resident here, and she lives in Riverdale. But if she were released on bond, she would be living with her mother. Her mother is here in the audience, attending this hearing, and she would be living here in Fayetteville, Your Honor. Ms. Romero Nunez is 19 years old, and we would certainly ask this court to impose a reasonable bond under the circumstances. We are willing to accept house arrest. In full disclosure, Ms. Romero Nunez is on first offender probation for a felony out of Pickens County, Georgia.
You can use automation to add leads and create customers while you work on other things. ActiveCampaign.
And that was a case where she was sentenced to robbery, first offender, and so she is on probation for that. But we are asking this honorable court to impose a reasonable bond on this case. She is not a flight risk. All of her family lives within 60 minutes of Fayette County, Georgia. She has family here in Fayette County and then on the north side in Duluth, but 95% of her entire family is here in Georgia in the metro area. So I don't believe that she's a flight risk. Again, we would accept and would be amenable to house arrest on this case. We certainly realize the gravity of the charges, but we are asking this court to set a reasonable bond for Ms. Romero Nunez.
Mr. Jerome, anything on behalf of Mr. Jelks?
Yes, sir. Your Honor, Mr. Jelks is 19 years old. He's a recent graduate of high school in Riverdale. He's currently attending Atlanta Tech. He was studying to get his CDL license. He has no prior criminal history. He's resided in Riverdale his entire life. His entire family resides within, proximity of Fayette County. He has strong familiar support who are here to support him here today. Essentially, this is a very sad situation, but there's clearly more to the story here than what we've heard through the officer. I understand that this is just a probable cause hearing and that there's many justifications that can be presented at a later time. That being said, Your Honor, we believe that Mr. Jelks is a good candidate for bond. Just simply looking at the Ayala factors here, Mr. Jelks has no prior criminal history. He's not a risk to commit any felonies. He's not a danger to the community. He has no prior run-ins with the police. And as I said, no prior criminal histories, no issues. He's going to school. He's a productive member of the community. He's working, or he was working at Walmart, and he does have another job waiting for him in landscaping if he is released. He's not a risk to flee. He has no means to flee. He doesn't even have a passport. His entire family lives in Georgia. He doesn't have any other resources outside of the state. So even if he were to flee, he'd have nowhere to go. And he does not intend to flee. He does want to stay. He does want to fight. And in addition to that, there's no risk that he would intimidate any witnesses here. We understand that there was an allegation here of, some type of intimidation. However, he disputes that, and he believes that his case stands on its own. He doesn't need anybody to say anything on his behalf for him, and so we don't believe that there's any risk that he's going to intimidate any witnesses in this case. That being said, we do believe that he is eligible for bond, and we just ask that the court give as reasonable bond as the court deems. Thank you.
State's response.
Thank you, Judge. For the record, Marie Broder, District Attorney for the Griffin Judicial Circuit. Your Honor, the state opposes bond in this case. I'll be brief. You've heard the facts in the preliminary hearing. I don't know of another case where the public is at risk if these two are granted bond. A 9-year-old little girl. I know we want to brush over that. I'm going to focus on it right now. A 9-year-old little girl was in the candy aisle at Walmart. How innocent. How precious. A 9-year-old little girl shopping in the candy aisle. not even near the front door, and open fire in a Walmart, killing the victim and striking that baby in the face. 17 rounds fired into the Walmart in Fayette County, where babies can't shop for candy anymore? Judge, we ask that you do not set these two a bond. They're a risk to the public.
First, let me address Mr. Jelks. He already has fled once, and I'm not going to give him an opportunity to flee again. So his bond is denied. As to Ms. Romero, I know, and what's compelling to me is my last question of the witness, whether he saw who got out of the car, and both defendants got out of her car at the time. And I find it extremely unlikely that she would not have noticed the gun in the ride to the Walmart that night, therefore implicating her as a co-defendant. Plus the fact that she's on felony probation, and there's a strong possibility that that probation will be revoked. I'm going to deny bond on both cases.
Thank you, Judge.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, sir. And we are adjourned.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, so as you can see, the judge denied bond for both individuals. And it's unfortunate. Make sure when you get out here and you play in these streets that there are consequences, because when you play cops and robbers, there was always somebody that was on the other side. You got the robbers who have ops. You got robbers who trying to harm others. And then you got the cops who's supposed to be the good guys. That's how we were always taught in society. And nevertheless, he was emotionless. He had no emotion about killing a man, which he did. And unfortunately for the young lady, she was already on felony probation. So she was already in trouble for another offense. So nevertheless, this is Antonio with Team Tiggio. Please like, comment, subscribe, as we'll be coming to you more videos in the future. And once again, we will see you in the next video. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, because we drop videos all the time.